I don't have ice. I got like three orbs over there that kind of look like ice, and there are snowflakes. Um, no ice. And we didn't get a white Christmas this year either, which I think says more about the global climate in regards to climate change than it does about anything else. This video is going to be about Geten, or as he's referred to as by Mr. Compress, Iceman. I'm just going to go with Geten. I apologize if I mispronounced his name. But he is, of course, just a member of the Meta Liberation Army, and then later on one of the lieutenants of the Paranormal Liberation Front. He doesn't have like an outside thing that he does. He has just literally been trained his entire life to be a warrior for the Meta Liberation Army. Um, and he is one of their strongest warriors. And because of his meta ability, or his quirk, is called ice manipulation. And um, we see him use this in very interesting ways. I actually kind of like his quirk quite a bit. I mean, it's not the same thing as Shoto's, because like Shoto can create ice from himself, um, and he has like an upper limit to how much ice he can create. But with Geten, he's been training his ability so much so from when he was so young. He's been training his ability so much that he can, he's like expanded his range for how far he can use his quirk. He can turn even just like water within the pipes that's like under the ground, turn that into ice and then use that. We see him like move a bunch of ice from like, instead of a convenience store, and like summon a bunch of that ice, or summon ice out of people's homes or whatever, and then he can form that into whatever he needs, like a giant freaking ice dragon, which is actually pretty cool. So he uses that for his quirk, and he actually uses it rather effectively, because he actually puts up a rather good fight, against Dobby throughout the course of the battle. Dobby's the main one that he tends to fight against, or fought against. And the dog's barking again. I apologize. I don't know what he's barking at. I don't know what's outside. Well, my mom's currently outside putting like snowmen up on our front porch, fake snowmen decorations up on our front porch, but he shouldn't be barking at that. So I'm assuming there's like a dog that walked by or something. Or I don't know. We've had foxes in the neighborhood, but this is in the middle of the day, so there shouldn't be a fox roaming around outside yet. So I apologize if you hear the dog barking in the background. But Geten has been, training his meta ability for a very long time. And on that note, he states that he's been training since his youth, that he didn't even attend school, and has instead focused every single effort that he had into strengthening his quirk. And we kind of see that he has this very, very, very disturbing, just kind of very admirable relationship that he has with Redestro. And I kind of said, I think I stated this in the Redestro video, that they were probably in a very similar situation. Redestro was raised from a very young age, knowing that he was this descendant of the founder of the Meta Liberation Army, and that he was to lead them into the future. He probably was one of the ones that like found Geten, or like maybe Geten's family and parents or something like that were members of the army, or maybe Geten was an orphan and they like took him in, because like people unfortunately get orphaned because of villain attacks at times or something like that. And Coda being a very good example there, technically Eri. But Geten may have been like in that type of a situation, and the Meta Liberation Army found him and took him in. And then, oh, you have this extremely useful quirk. Our leader is going to want to know about you. And then like they took him to Redestro, and then like he basically kind of probably raised Geten a fair amount, groomed him, trained him more, probably practiced with him to fight against his stress quirk, and trained him that way and everything. And Geten said he didn't even go to school or anything like that. So probably pretty much all he knows is whatever the Meta Liberation Army has taught him, whatever Redestro and the rest of the commanders had taught him over the years. And that's not really a good thing. So that's kind of basically just, forced control over him. But yeah, his main fight is against Dobby. And they have a very interesting fight throughout the course of the arc, uh, the Middle Liberation Army arc. Um, he's actually very good with his ice, and the fact that like Dobby even states, "Hey, you're pretty quiet for sneaking up on me for a tank and everything." Dobby's able to melt the ice and everything like that, but Geten is also very good at being able to notice weaknesses, and he notices that like Dobby's quirk, when he uses it too much, burns him. And yeah, I mean, like we know that, of course, about Dobby and everything like that. So it's not like we don't know that at that point in time. But like obviously, that's from his quirk. Is like what the all of his burned skin is from, and other things. Um, but Geten is very observant with that. And I mean, like he was put into, all of his training was put into like controlling his own quirk, but also probably how to fight people with different quirks, particularly quirks that would have an advantage over him, specifically people who have fire quirks, because people who have a fire quirk would definitely have an advantage over someone that has an ice quirk. And, fighting against Dobby is, you would think the win would automatically go to Dobby, but Geten actually holds up rather well against Dobby throughout the course of their fight. He actually causes, I think he causes a fair amount of damage to Dobby at some point, and he's able to withstand his attacks and like bounce back from them very easily. Summon more and more ice that he summons from throughout, the Deka City area, and he uses them to, tries to use them at one point to like fight against Jigato Makio when he's rampaging through Deka City. And he's also probably quite in a fair amount of duress when like he watches as like Redestro surrenders to Tomura and hands over control of the army. Geten is probably also, I don't remember if we get too much else interaction with Geten. I know that he is part of the um, battle in regards to the Meta Liberation, or the Paranormal Liberation arc battle. He deals with Fumikage at one point, because Fumikage is of course trying to rescue Hawks from Dobby throughout that area. So Geten's there as well. I think Geten and Dobby kind of have to work together at one point. I think he also maybe has like a clash with Shoto at one point for like ice on ice to a degree. And then I think he is also finally defeated by Cementos. So that's kind of, I think, where that ends. He is one of the ones that is captured. He's apprehended and arrested, of course, after what happens. And as I said, he is defeated by Cementos. There's not really too much else there with Geten, so this is definitely going to be a shorter video, but whatever. But he is kind of this look at, kind of a slight look at in what happens to like a lot of the children who are probably raised within the Middle Liberation Army, whose parents or grandparents were members of it, or something along those lines, or orphans who were taken in by the Middle Liberation Army. Doesn't mean that the orphans possibly weren't loved by their respective guardians, parents, whatever that like took them in, but they were raised and trained to be able to be warriors. And there may be other warriors like Geten that are within the Middle Liberation Army as well. Probably, we just may not have seen them, or they may just not be as powerful as him. And we've never actually seen his whole face or anything like that. We've seen his, his eyes, because they glow underneath his, hood. And he always has like this coat on, because coat, cold, blah, 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 blah. Fur, blue, ice, take your pick. But we don't know exactly what he looks like. As I said, he's currently arrested. I don't really think we're going to end up seeing anything else from Geten. I guess there's a possibility that maybe he might make a deal with the heroes and help them, but I doubt it. Just because of how much he was like raised and trained to follow Redestro and then follow Tomura and everything. And I don't think that there really would be anything else there that happens. As I said, he was defeated by Cementos, so obviously Cementos wore him down, which I just like. He seems okay with I don't know if we're ever going to see anything else about Geten. I don't care if we do or don't. I just didn't care that much for him as a character. Good quirk, don't care that much for him. Um, Also, he's just basically been raised like, groomed his entire life, which I'll be going over more on that in regards to the way that that works when I go over the Meta Liberation Army Warriors, which is actually just going to be the video that I'm going to go record now, because I have nothing else to say here about Geten beyond, um, I'm sure Dega has always had like a white Christmas every year, because Geten can always make sure there's a white Christmas. That's the best that I got. So, bye. Thank you for watching.
In the future that our liberation army foresees, one's rank in society will be directly tied to the strengths of one's meta ability. Elevating one's ability will be the only way to really live. Beyond that sheer strength, life has no value.